Let's do this. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sam Simarani, and welcome to the pilot episode of Desktop News. I've always wanted to try something like this for a while now. I'm someone who has always needed some sort of creative outlet, and at the end of the day, if you don't try something, then what have you gained? Apart from protection from the ridicule and shame of your family and friends, of course. Now, this may be something I do on a regular basis, or it may be something I bury deep down and hope no one ever finds again. Ultimately, it depends on if people like it or not, so please let me know what you think. Anyway, without further ado, let's get this thing started. The midterm elections were this past Tuesday, and while the Republicans managed to increase their hold on the Senate, the Democrats blew away expectations by gaining control of the House in what many are describing as a blue wave. Now, I don't know if anyone knows what a wave looks like, but when I think of waves, I always kind of assumed that blue was a given. So, yeah. But seriously, how about those midterms? There were so many historical victories on Tuesday. For example, do you guys remember Jack Phillips? He's the baker from Colorado that went all the way to the Supreme Court because people kept forcing him to bake a cake for a gay wedding. This summer, the Supreme Court basically said Colorado got it wrong, but they didn't really say anything else, and that was pretty much that. Now, people weren't really happy with this because they thought Jack Phillips got off really easily, so barely days after he gets back to Colorado, someone walks into his bakery and asks for a cake that was pink on the outside and blue on the inside to celebrate a gender transition. Now, I know everyone jokes about liberals getting triggered, but I guarantee you no liberal has been triggered the way I imagine Jack Phillips was when that person walked in and asked for a transgender cake. I didn't even know those existed. You know what's funny though? He still said no. He's just endured years worth of court cases and trials, and the minute he gets back, he decides to put himself through years of pain again, voluntarily. If there was ever a perfect explanation of the American political scene, it's the idea of people voluntarily putting themselves through years of pain because of what they believe. That's not the funniest part though. The funniest part is that on Tuesday, Colorado elected Jared Polis as their new governor. You thought Jack Phillips was triggered before? Imagine how he's going to react when he realizes his state just elected the first gay governor in the US. He's going to walk into that courtroom for not baking a transgender cake and see a gay governor. I honestly think if Jack Phillips was given a choice between seeing that and seeing Satan himself rise out of the ground to drag him down to hell, he'd choose Satan, simply because it had proved to everyone that the Bible was right about one thing after all. Seriously though, it really annoys me when people use religion as an excuse to discriminate, and I'm really happy for Governor Polis. Polis? I really don't know. I'm also happy because Kim Davis lost her re-election bid in Kentucky. Kim Davis, of course, is the woman who denied marriage licenses to same-sex couples after the Supreme Court ruling, and who looks like Mitch McConnell grew an inch of hair for every time he absorbed an innocent turtle's soul. What else happened? Beto O'Rourke lost a tight race for the Texas Senate seat to Ted Cruz after spending almost $70 million. What on earth did he spend that money on? The movie Zodiac only cost $65 million to make. He could have spent his entire campaign money on remaking Zodiac with a Ted Cruz lookalike to use as propaganda, and he'd still have had $5 million to spare. I'm not saying that would have won him the race, I'm just saying it would have made the race a lot more entertaining. You know what was really cool? Dan Crenshaw won his election. Dan Crenshaw was the veteran with an eye patch who got made fun of on SNL by Pete Davidson about a week or two ago. I was going to make a joke about Dan Crenshaw too, but I didn't really want to be like Pete Davidson. Not because he's not funny, but because he looks like he's doing a photo shoot for a new Netflix show called Orange is the New Crack. Orange is a new crack. Oh, okay, this was a good idea. A lot of people reacted to the midterms in different ways. Nancy Pelosi gave a speech saying this would restore checks and balances to the government and revive democracy, and honestly I couldn't tell you what she was saying because for some reason I thought she was really old, but in this clip she doesn't look that old, and that was really bugging me. She looks, I don't know, late 50s, early 60s. I googled her and she is 78 years old. 78! What? I mean, it explains why people said she was old. I'll tell you what did catch my attention. The fact that Nancy Pelosi Young was one of the top search results when you Google her name. I thought it would have been Nancy Pelosi Old, with like a tone of surprise and a question mark. But alas, I was wrong. I clicked on Nancy Pelosi Young, you know, for research. And let's just say she's the reason I'm no longer competing in No Nut November. Unfortunately, not everyone is as cool as old Nancy Pelosi. I was scrolling through Twitter and came across this guy Mark Simone, who said Democrats will now demonstrate for America how out of touch they are with the heartland, as they spend the next 2 years trying to subpoena Donald Trump's tax returns, actually believing that normal, hard-working Americans have any interest in that. Now, I may not be normal, working, or American, but I think it's safe to say that whenever anyone says, you don't have any interest in this, people are 100% going to be interested. I could not give two shits about Donald Trump's tax returns, but the minute he suggested I did not want to know, they became my number one priority. Not surprising coming from a guy whose profile picture makes me confused as to whether he has no neck at all, or if his neck just morphed into his chin and his face and God just chucked eyes, a nose and a mouth in the middle for a laugh. Still, I thought, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, but then I saw he shared this a couple of days beforehand. The jury's still out on his neck, but I think it's safe to say his backbone disappeared a long time ago. Okay, that last part felt a little heavy than the rest of it. Let's just ease the tension a little. Oh, here's a good one. You guys know Michael Moore? He's the guy that won the Palme d'Or like 15 years ago and has been struggling to hold on to the tiny amount of relevancy it gave him ever since. He did a one-man Broadway show after Trump was inaugurated because if there was one thing Broadway needed, it was more rich white liberals trying to make money from other rich white liberals. He spoke out about the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, which is funny because his mere presence is probably more toxic than the lead they've been drinking for the past 4 years. But most recently, he said on Twitter, "The women are coming. You have been warned. This is not a test." This coming from a man who would not know if a woman was coming if she grabbed him by the chins he grows on his neck and screamed, "This woman is coming. You have been warned. This is not a test." Okay, this is fun. This is fun. Now, obviously we can't ignore the president himself, the man responsible for blurring the line between satire and reality to the point where the general public has vilified CNN and Fox, but happily turns to The Onion for quality journalism. Trump tweeted on the night of the midterms that the election had been a tremendous success. Now, I don't know exactly what he defines as success, but I think we can all agree that according to his definition, he has had some of the most successful marriages in history. A few hours later, he tweeted something which I can only imagine was supposed to be some kind of attempt to justify his, let's just call it unorthodox definition of success, and it deserves to be read in full. There's only been 5 times in the last 105 years that an incumbent president has won seats in the Senate in the off-year election. Mr. Trump has magic about him. This guy has magic coming out of his ears. He is an astonishing vote-getter and campaigner. The Republicans are unbelievably lucky to have him, and I'm just awed at how well they've done. It's all the Trump magic. Trump is the magic man. Incredible. He's got the entire media against him, attacking him every day, and he pulls out these enormous wins. Apparently this was said by Ben Stein in his book The Capitalist Code. Can we just appreciate that quote for a minute? Mr. Trump has magic about him. This guy has magic coming out of his ears. It's all the Trump magic. Trump is the magic man. Is that from the Capitalist Code or a Dr. Seuss book? I won't condemn the Ku Klux Klan, said Mr. Trump, the magic man. I will neglect all my duties, but will not help the refugees. I'll even pass a Muslim ban, because I am the magic man. That's a direct quote. He said that. Seriously though, has anyone seen Ben Stein and Trump in a room together? I bet if I bought a copy of the Capitalist Code, the author's picture would just be Trump with a glued-on moustache and unnecessarily thick glasses. On that note, I looked up the Capitalist Code on Google. It was published in 2017. There's no way it contains a quote about the 2018 midterms. Not unless Trump has a time machine, but I think we all know that's not happening. Good thing too, because if Trump had a time machine, he'd probably go back in time, cause every time paradox known to man, and then come back bragging about how the mission was a great success. Trump may not know much about success, but he definitely understands the meaning of the phrase, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, and that's why he took an immigrant for a wife. Thank you all for watching. If this is something you like, let me know. I'll keep making them as long as people keep watching. I'm Sam Samaraney, this has been Desktop News, and I will see you all later.